Okay, so Cesar, thank you so much for hosting us in the Professional School of Almada.
We thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. So before we go into your the work that you do at the school and the type of innovations and changes that you try to make here, we want to give the listeners, our community, a sense of who you are as an educator and as a member of this school. So the first segment it's about you and the story and an introduction to the space.
Okay.
The very first question is, what is your story? What are your origins, and how did you become the professional or the person that you are today?
Okay, I was born in Lisbon, the other side of the river, and I make my progress through a vocational training school also to become an electric engineer. Before I went to university, I decided I should go to physics because since I was little, science was always the best area for me. So I went for physics studies, physics and chemistry teaching, and here I am.
All right, and here I am means where? What is this place about?
This place was an old school for the guys that work on the ships in Lisnave. So we are in this area because of that. Lisnave now is not working since the late 19th. So we are a school now, a vocational training school, and this place is like an old place. And that's good also because we have this environment with this weather now in March, but it's a nice place to be a teacher.
And what is different about this place comparing to, the usual professional school in Portugal?
This is not a regular vocational training school. This environment, these two big places are very nice. Crazy students are very nice because we have two big hangars where the training for the workers were done. Before this was open, we have a big boat motors around here, place it everywhere. Now we have the space with the tables where that guys take training, and we are using with our students.
All right, I see. And what are you most passionate about at the moment?
A lot of things. I love my job. I love my life. I love to be able to do what I want and have the support of the principal of the school. All the principal give me all the support to do whatever I want to do and apply it. So. Yeah. For me, is the best I can ask for working.
I see. So you are an educator, which means you have students, and you need to make sure they have a certain learning experience.
Yeah.
But what did you learn personally yourself in 2018? So the first 2 months of this year.
Whoa. I learned a lot of things in 2018 also. I'm trying new things with my kids. I'm trying gamifying the classes, me and my colleagues. I learned about how to put the physics curriculum on the students' projects. Okay, I can start with my project and put on student work, but the opposite, they give me the lines, and I put there the curriculums of the physics. I think it was the major learning for me this year.
And we'll get deeper into that. But this school takes students with difficult, social backgrounds and also behavioral challenges. So what is your, probably you have many experiences, but how do you see success and failure personally, but through the lens of being an educator in such a school?
Since 2014, I changed the way I teach. and now I see the failure as an opportunity for success, to explore the failure, and we learn with failures. So just to transport that to education and is what I feel. The failure is a point where you can explore to take you to success. So
And what is
I
success?
success to fail, to get up, and to walk again and go to your goal and finish the things you have to do.
So you're a teacher of physics and chemistry, but we'll move a bit towards arts.
Okay.
So imagine your life story. It's a song. What kind of music would that be?
I grew up in the late 80s, in the late 80s and beginning of the 90s, so grunge for sure will be my soundtrack, with a little of trumpet jazz maybe,
Cool.
for the meanwhiles for relax a little. So grunge maybe with jazz.
I see. So thank you for this intro.
You're welcome.
Now we go into the next segment. We are in the main part of the interview where we try to go deeper into what Almada Professional School is, how is it trying to change, and what exactly is happening inside. And the interview has three parts. First is inception. So how did it start? How are you thinking about curriculum and changing it? Then we go into the process, which is like everyday life of students and teachers, and then we look into the growth and the future. So in the intro segment, you presented a bit what the school is, with the space and so on. But now let's look at how, like, the story when you came at the school, and how your attitude and your experience changed as an educator at this school.
Okay.
So how did it happen?
When I finish my graduation, I have one thing guaranteed, that I will not enter in the public schools, because I didn't have any experience. So I send my curriculum for every school between Setúbal and about 50 kilometers from Lisbon. Every school that I found on the internet, I send my curriculum. One fun thing I didn't send to here, but my principal asked to a friend, another principal, for curriculums, and mine was in the group of curriculums that they sent. They called me, and here I am.
What
working.
year was that?
2008.
I see.
Yeah, about almost 10 years ago.
Okay. You mentioned in our discussion yesterday that you started what you call as a typical teacher.
Yeah,
so
very bad teacher.
So can you
We
share a bit
hated
of
this
that? I hope that changed very quickly.
A lot.
So how did it happen? How you're thinking about the changing the teacher practices happened?
Some kind I regret to being a teacher as I was, because in that time I was like a traditional kind of teacher with technology, interactive whiteboard, simulation, but I was very rigid in the traditional method. I give homeworks in Moodle, I take regular testing, and some kids pass by the tests, others don't, but it was the most difficult, one of the most difficult disciplines to finish here. At certain point, I have to rethink that.
And what happened that you said, I cannot continue in a traditional way anymore?
As I told you before, I love physics and science in general. Since not the kindergarten, but the first year, I always was better on science parts. And for me, science is natural, so I can see it happening all over the places, all around us. So I didn't understand why don't they like my science. Some of the kids told me that you are a great teacher, even with the traditional method. So it wasn't supposed to be a problem of mine as a teacher, as a traditional teacher, but they didn't like science, and I start to see that as a failure for me, because I'm supposed to show them the beauty of science, in my opinion. So maybe it was the one process of rethinking what I was doing, and the results. I start to understand maybe they made the homeworks and passed the test, but they don't know nothing about physics or chemistry, because I ask about other things that we already talk and they forgot. So
I see.
that maybe was the trigger.
And speaking about pedagogical challenges or failures, I need to make a confession, and I shared also this yesterday. First, when I saw you in the 100 ambassador list, and I was thinking, oh, a professional school doing projects, that's interesting, but still, it's a professional school. It's very traditional. I'm, as I said, I must confess, there are a lot of stereotypes and a lot of mistakes when it comes to educators and the state of professional schools. But then I went through statistics, and I looked at a lot of students in a lot of countries are part of vocational or professional schools, and that such organizations need to change and are actively working to do something. So, and then I looked at the Almada school, and it was interesting that you try to play with the curriculum, that you have certain changes on the skill profile and so on that we are gonna talk in a bit. But first, can you share a bit about the demographics? Like, what kind of students do you have, and what are some of the challenges that you have?
We receive students mainly from Almada zone, but is a suburban area. So we receive all kinds of students. They don't pay to be here. So we receive good students, less good students, and we have to work with that every day. So we have to see what we have, what they are good at, and work with that. The students usually have difficulties of social problems, money problems, a lot of different handicaps. And this is our world in our school. Of course, we also receive very good students, but the major part is not the typical brilliant student. Maybe we show them after they've been here, they also can be brilliant, but not as the others that everyone looks and say that's a good student. Is a stereotype, like you told. We have to deconstruct that.
Yeah, and what are some of the motivations when students get here? Is it their last chance? Is it that they really want to get into a specific discipline?
Some of them want to finish the 12th grade and go to work. Some of them come here with that in mind, but then after being here 3 years, I want to go to university. For us, that's also very good to achieve. Others came here because they are pushed to vocational training because they are not supposed to be good at school. So they are pushed here, like it was a minor education system. I passed through that in my education, because as I told before, I graduated in the high school in a vocational training school in that time. So, but I didn't have that in mind. But I remember we had one teacher that was constantly insulting us because we are in the vocational training, so we are supposed to be dumb in there. And that's not true. Our teachers our students make things that the bright students in the typical schools don't do. But the society don't care about that, or is a stereotype.
So speaking about society and stereotypes, as you mentioned, in most of the places, professional schools are regarded as this second grade like low quality, less chance type of education because you didn't succeed in a traditional academic way. You go there and you just get some skills that
get a job.
Yeah. So what is the situation in Portugal, and what are some of the changes that you see?
The situation is the same. The society say you are not good at school, so you go to vocational training. If you see in the other way, vocational training can be more difficult than the regular school or the high school, because they have to learn how to work. They have to learn the practical skills. They have to technical and non-technical content. So it's not a second kind of teaching system. So here the problem is the same. Society looks like a minor education system. I think things are changing. The government wants half of the students' population to become to go by the vocational training. I see it in the positive way, because that could answer the problem that it is one of the problems in Portugal, that some of kids get from the high school, and then they didn't went in the university, and they don't know how to do nothing. So I believe things are changing.
But I mean, it's good that there is a push to get to 50% of the student population to be from professional schools, because we need practical skills and we need people to do things. But without the change of thinking or paradigms that this is just a form of learning and not the low quality, it's kind of dangerous. Do you see also an effort to change the mindset towards professional schools, or it's not really happening?
I think we have to give society time to see that. As a vocational training system teacher and before a student, I don't look at the same way. I think is much important this kind of teaching and learning has the high school, because people are forgetting that we need practical skills, and the society will remember that when they don't have technicians, and technicians are a major part of the society needs. So I think society needs time to understand that.
Yeah, and talking about understanding, at some point, you guys at this school changed the curriculum, and we discussed off the camera that you went from the traditional lectures and classes to focusing 60% on soft skills and the rest on like practical projects. At the same time, you mentioned that while the average statistics for students that go through vocational schools that end up going to the university on the national level is between 10 and 15, while at your school is 35%.
Yeah, about 30,
so
35.
What are you doing different from other schools?
Okay, in our case, we didn't change the curriculum. We changed the methodology.
All right.
So we read the guidelines from the government. We read all the guidelines, not only the what you have to do, but from the beginning. And we start to understand that the guidelines is to teach competences and skills. And they are showing you in the program a way of doing it. That they don't say you cannot do other things or another way. They say that we want to develop this and this and this. And I can give you an example how to do it. So we took the program from physics and chemistry, from English, from Portuguese teaching, civics, computer science, and start to read all, and all has that part in common. So we decide as a teacher, okay, if this is a common part, why not to give this the 60% of the final grade, and the 40% for the things that are not in common, because that was the major part. In the case of physics, in that same time, a little bit in 2014, when do we have to rethink how do we teach.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Why was it 2014 that you had to rethink how you teach?
I didn't start to rethink in 2014. Since I was here, I always tried to find other ways to teach, to help kids to achieve the best grade they could. I did a lot of things from 2008 to 2014, but I was a traditional traditional technological teaching teacher.
Yeah.
So in 2014, I was rethinking once more. I was in about April to June, and I was thinking already in the next year, and I was thinking this is not working. They don't like science, physics, so we have to make something. I read also reports from the European Union, and I understood that that part it was not my problem as a teacher, it was a European problem.
Right.
In the same time, we found another project, GoLab, and in GoLab also, as in the article from European Union, also they are talking about Inquire. So I start to search about Inquire and try to understand what is Inquire and putting in practice in 2014-15. That's why it was my turning point. It was 2014.
You know, we find cases in some schools when, you know, teachers, but separate from the whole pedagogical team, do certain things in the school, like change the type of projects students have and join different organizations like GoLab and so on. But it also felt here at the school that there's a common team effort of all the teachers to embrace this new method. So can you take us through a bit of this stage of transformation? Like, how did it happen? How did you manage to get the buy-in from all the teachers to do something different?
Okay, I look at this like a wave. We start to form, and then it get huge, huge. So I think is similar to that. So in the beginning, we were two physics and chemistry teachers that changed our methodologies. At the same time, one more teacher started to work also in one grade with in the 12th grade, I think, with new kinds of approach with the junior achievement. So I, as far as I remember, it was the two starting points of new methodologies here, and the experiment. With success, because we, from the first day in physics, me and my colleague, we saw a different approach from the students, a different opening in the classes. From the first day, we start with that. After 2 years, with the opening of this classroom, we try to expand that to get a bigger number of teachers that was also interested in change. And we start to help them to enter this new process, because we already passed by there 2 years ago.
So right now, the place that we are, this is the future classroom, or the classroom of the future?
Yeah, the Inspiring by Future Classroom movement from European Schoolnet. All
right, so this is the way I understood it, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is a the place where teachers from the school can come and explore new methods. They can do research and try new things.
Is one more place.
Okay.
They do all over the school, but this is one more place with different technologies. They can play film movies and make edition, and
all right,
it's one more space.
So so when this classroom was created, that helped spread your new ideas to other teachers, basically.
This when this room was created, it was the library from the school, and in the previous years, teachers start to use it for working in groups. When the teachers start to say, "Oh, we want to make some changes with take out some books because we are not using it," we talk with the principal, and okay, this is the key point to change the room, and maybe try to implement a future classroom type of
I
room.
see. So now let's dive into the process a bit, and to help people understand what is the normal day at Almada School. So imagine, I'm a student. So what would be my experience like on a normal day here?
Okay, you come to classes.
What time?
It depends, but the school starts at 8:13 and finish at 6 p.m. So it depends of the class.
Wow, it's a full day. It's like a job.
Yeah, but because it's a vocational training, so they have a huge timetables. But it depends. Some kids start only after lunch in some days, but when they come here for classes, they can have the technical classes in the hangars or in the technical rooms, or in their classroom they have teaching methods with tables in islands, working in groups, making movies, presentations. That's a normal day. Collaborate to produce something that you see.
We discussed earlier that there is this stereotype or the social view of professional schools as the place where students that failed academically go. So for you as a pedagogical team, but you personally, how do you help students overcome this mindset that I'm a failure or the system failed me, that they know since probably the first grade?
That's in the beginning is hard. You have to gain the trust of the students, because they are not used to teachers that say you can fail. So they are trying to hide the failure, the difficulties that they have. They don't trust you. So the first step is to help them to see that failure is normal. Everyone fails. To have the kids trust in you, so they can tell you, I need help.
So how do you achieve this trust?
It's hard in the beginning, as I told you. Is talking with them when you see that they are hiding something. Because talk with them and try to have a feedback. Always in the beginning, always say give the reinforcement that they can fail. Fail is part of learning, and try to see the failures as a good thing, as a positive thing. Okay, this is a point where I can learn more. When I fail, I can correct these errors and learn a little more. So you have to give space for failure, and use that in the good way. After 3-4 months, you start to, in the first grade, you start to capture some students that risk you to show you that they fail. And that's the key point. So you help them to progress and to do better, and you don't point to the errors as a bad thing.
Yeah,
I think is the key factor.
I see. And In the question about motivations, and you mentioned that some students come here and they just want to maybe kill 2-3 years because legally they're required to get to the 12th grade and
Yeah.
they just want to continue with their thing. Some really want the practical skills because they want to work and support their families. And some students, get the curiosity and the confidence that they can go through further through to the university. So when you have a class of students that is so diverse and go through difficulties at home and have different motivations, how do you customize your attention and your activities?
It's easier if you work in groups.
All right.
Because you can walk around the tables and talk with them directly and direct their work and say, okay, you can do a little more in here. And so in traditional way, it's harder because you are in the position that you throw the
Broadcast.
curriculum. You are broadcasting, yeah. So you don't have any idea what they are understanding or hearing or whatever. So when you are working in the collaborative way, you see in the table who is making the most work in the group, who is inside what we are asking, and you start to conquer it student by student. Maybe 2 or 3, you take the 3 years to get them, but in the 3rd year we talk between teachers. Oh, that's amazing! Finally he wake up and is working.
I see.
So it's a progress.
How do you measure success in that context when you have such diverse students?
To measure is hard because, of course, they have to have a grade. But if you look by the work they are doing, you can give a grade. Of course, it's just a number. Yeah, you have to give a number to the person himself. So it doesn't mean anything because they can achieve more than that number. But you can graduate with the work. But also you can help the students in the do better, achieve more, and do a little a profound search about this topic, and extract more from that. Or in the presentation, okay, it was a good presentation, but you can do better in here. So next work, please work in this part and this and this. And they will focus on that part, and the next presentation they will be better in that part. So I think that's more important than the test that they go to their home and study, or go to studying center to learn how to make things. They make it in the test, pass, and then they forget everything.
So when you change from lectures to this projects and presentations and more practical skills, what results did you see personally, like from this, just observing the students?
The first year that I'm starting to work in Inquire, I had students 2 hours in the lab, and after 2 hours without going to bathroom, get a break or whatever, I said, come on, we have to finish the class. And they asked, already? Yeah, we're already passing the time. 2 hours? Yes, already. So that's the most the best feedback that you can have in one class is when the kids are involved in work. And they don't give they're not thinking about go outside, because they are involved in what they are doing. I think is the best feedback that you can have, and show what are you doing with them.
When it comes to vocational schools or practical skills, a lot also depends on their ability to go out in the world and do things. So how do you approach the community work or the work with families at the school? Like, do they get to go outside and do something, or most of the training happens at the school?
We are starting to we start to work by projects as a group last year.
Yeah.
This year we are our focus is on the students projects. We enter in the projects called Open Schools for Open Societies.
All right.
So we get out with the students to Cacilhas near the school to look for social or architectural problems in that area.
Yeah.
And they select the main problem that
The students
found.
select.
The students select.
All right.
So we are working with that onto the community, for the community, with the projects of the kids. That's a new challenge because we have, for now, 60 teachers from different areas working with 3 classes on the kids project. And
I see.
it's hard for us to start this process.
Why?
Because we are changing completely the way of exploring the curriculum. Because in my class, I give you in the last years I give you this theme, this
Topic?
project, this topic, and I can put physics here easily. Now I don't know what kids will choose, and I have to put physics and chemistry there.
Okay.
Me, the Portuguese teacher, the English teacher. So it's harder because we are exploring that. That's why I say maybe in 2008 the most important thing that I learned is possible to do it. So I'm exploring that part.
I see. And now going into the future. So what would be the absolute dream scenario for a professional school if you could, have the resources and the people, and what would you do? Like, what do you think are the changes that need to happen?
Social changes, of course. We need more students in vocational training. That's my opinion since I was a student. That's will have to happen. The rest, I don't know, because since I entered here, I didn't have 2 years to equal one to the other. Some year, I will make this work for the next year, and next year I'll be a little more relaxed, and didn't happen. So I cannot predict how it's gonna be to the front. I know I will not stop because that's the
You
way
are on a mission.
it's natural in me because I'm always exploring new things, or new ways, or trying to adjust, or it's been like this since I start. So I'm a little tired.
Okay, so for you, the dream scenario is that the social view of professional schools changes. All right. So what needs to happen legally, financially, or politically that this is a reality?
Political, I think is happening.
Right.
Legally, I think the political stuff have to give more control to schools, in my opinion. Of course, education is not only the education part.
What else?
Each country and the European Union defines education, so we can teach what we want in a certain way. So we're not free, 100% free. But I think that was my utopic dream about education was I can teach what I think is important for kids, and I need the government to give to believe in that and give us conditions to do that. But I also understand it's not possible, so I live well with that.
Yeah. So I was reading recently that after the financial crisis in 2008 2009, there was a increase of demand for vocational schools and very practical skills because people needed to shift their career and do something practical that would give them a job. Um, Now we are in, the crisis is like gone
Yeah.
somehow. Not sure for how long, but we have another wave of change, which is robotics and artificial intelligence, which will impact the job market. How do you see, vocational schools in this context where, a lot of jobs are automated or done by robots?
I see that we are in advantage uh, to
All right.
the high school because for programming you need the technicians. So the technicians are formed in the vocational training system. Okay, you need the engineers also, but for programming in the factory the machines, for resolve the robots problems, there's not the engineer that will do that. It will be the technician. So I think for is another reasons to give more credit to vocational training system because you need the technicians. You need the technicians for artificial intelligence, for robotics, for whatever. For now, I don't know if robots one day will help in themselves, but for now you need the technicians.
I was supposed to ask it at the very beginning, but as I'm reflecting now, what exactly are people, students, learning at your school? What are kind of the disciplines, or do you have like kind of faculty? Like I choose the path of engineering, or I choose the path of
In university?
No, here.
Here?
Like, or it's all the students have the same classes.
More and less, yeah.
Okay.
It depends of the courses they choose.
So they have a choice of what courses they
when
can choose.
they enter, in this year they could choose electronics and automation, or automobile technician, or industrial and industrial maintenance technician.
Okay, so they
So,
have certain domains that they
with
can
different
go.
technical disciplines, but
I
the
see.
major part is similar.
Okay, now let's try to sum up this conversation and give some practical resources and insights for educators just like you, who probably are in a professional school or in a setting that is more challenging. So first, do you have any must-read books or articles or websites that will help educators to understand new ways of teaching and practice them?
Okay, that's a hard question for me because to be honest, I didn't found any book for Inquire. That was one key difficulty that I have, was to understand Inquire in 2014. Now they are appearing something, and Inquire is an old methodology, but I think it wasn't that much spread, not only in Portugal. But some books, I think some classic books, I think they are needed. I remember Summerhill from A. Snell. I think is a wonderful instrument to understand that what we have now, because it's an image of the kids I have, for example. Of course, this is not a Summerhill kind of school.
Yeah.
But the image of the students of the Summerhill, and is a book from 1928, I think, is a good image of the revolted students with society and things like that. I also put in the same pathmark in the opposite place, in the opposite shelf.
Yeah.
Maybe the book from Ivan Illich, from the Societies Without Schools, because that gives you also the perspective of what is bad in school, what is wrong in schools, and what is need to be changed. and also an old book, not with new methodologies. From papers, maybe the European papers that I told, Science Now in Europe, I think, from Nuts. I don't remember the
You can
name,
share
but
the
I
resources
share
and the links, and we
after.
can put them.
It's important to show you how is the education system now in Europe. Now, 2008, 7, 8. For resources, for me was very important. When I entered the Go Lab, was very important. One website of an old project. It's called Establish. It was an European project and helped me to understand Inquire for science, of course. So, and the internet, 100 site have beautiful examples.
Yeah.
And you can share resources and get help from communities around the internet. And for examples, they are published on the internet. So I think maybe it is the most diverse font that you can get for your kind of teacher, and find your way.
Cool. Now let's play the empathy game. We'll imagine that you are a representative of different social groups, and the question is, how will you act as that person? So first, it's very easy for you, but still I will challenge. Imagine you are an educator, but you don't have the experience you have today. Like you are in a professional school somewhere, maybe in a small town, maybe in Central Europe or in Asia or wherever, and you want to do things like you understand that the way the system went for long, it's not working, and you want to do something. You're passionate about children and about their learning path. So where do you start? What do you do?
First, you have to look what kind of students you have, because I'm sure what I use here is not applied to other schools. That's for sure. My work from 2014, I cannot use it today in the same way because students are different. So the first thing is look at what you have. Trust the kids and conquer the trust of the kids. That's important because they will help you to understand their problems if they trust you. So that's a major important key to receive the trust of the kids. So in that receiving is for helping them. Then experiment. You have to try it, and you have to find your way, your path, because you can try to copy my things, but the things I produce are an image what I am as a teacher. So if your brain or your way of living is not like mine, maybe you can, if you try to rigid copy, you cannot put it in practice. When we change the methodology to Inquire, I'm always giving this example because I think it's an image of what I'm saying. We were two physics and chemistry teachers here. We passed through the same learning process. Go both to Inquire at the same time, in the same training, with Go Lab. And we talk with each other and say, okay, I produce half and you produce another half, and then we exchange. But when we try to put that in practice, it wasn't possible because every time, he asked me, how do you do this? Because I cannot do this in my class. And when I grab my colleagues' things, I have to change because my brain and my path to take kids to where I want them to be is different. So There's not a recipe. You have to explore, find your path, try to communicate with your students, and be the better.
All right. Now, imagine you're one of maybe your school students, and you've been told for years that you are incapable, that your grades are terrible, that you're a failure, and then you end up at a professional school. But you also know that you have potential. You are curious about certain things, and you know that you can do stuff. What do you do? Where do you start if you have a different learning path or a different interest versus, the school and what the society told you? Like if you were a student
If I
today.
were a student, that's hard for students because they don't understand that, because everyone is pointing at the problems they have, and they don't know. They know the problems that they have. They deal with them, or try to deal with them. If the society only see the problems, it will be harder for kids to understand that, I'm good in this part, and this part is also important. We have some students that do amazing stuff. I cannot do it as a teacher, as a technical that I was in the high school. And they can make amazing things in electronics, for example. And when we say, okay, this is amazing, oh no, it's just it's okay. No, it really is really good. They don't believe it because they are every day in their lives the errors were the focus of their problems. So no one said you are good at this and this and this, and explore these parts where you are good at. So if the kids don't have that guidance before they enter in vocational training, they will stay focused on the problems. I had writing problems.
So
I
how
had
do they find someone
before.
that they can, get guidance from? Or like if you imagine you're like, I don't know, 15, 16, and you want to get out of this vicious circle of you're a failure and you are terrible, and what do you do?
Come to our school. um, if I didn't have had any help, maybe I stay in the system and think I was a failure all my life. If the kids can have help from the parents or the teachers or other friends, students that pass through the same problems and go to vocational training or other system, or psychologists or whatever, someone that is aware that the kids can do great things.
Yeah.
They can help them.
So find someone who believes kids can do great things
Yeah,
to
and
support
that
you.
can be a problem for kids if they don't have no one around them
And
to
I
show
see.
them what they can do. Because everyone is focused on error and traditional method and throw away the things that I have to say as a teacher. No one's thinking, okay, you are excellent in this part, but you can do it better, so go to this and
I
try
see.
to be better in this.
And so now the third role or the third group is politics. So imagine you become the Minister of Education. What are the first 3 actions or laws that you implement to solve this kind of problems that you just described?
In Portugal, if I was a minister with every freedom that I could have, behind the social problems or views or whatever, give the schools the schools autonomy to change. The teachers also. In Portugal, we have the school rankings with the students'
All right.
tests. So we have schools that preparing students for the school ranking to show how schools are good. So finish with that school
So it's not
rankings.
about students; it's about schools competing
Yeah,
between.
for to being on top and say we are the better school because we are put in the best position of the rankings. So that is a image of
Okay.
the quality of the school. But the social environment is different in every school. Some kids in that schools can pay to go to study centers. The school are focused on ranking. So for
I
me,
see.
it's not a good image of a excellent school.
Mm.
Is just a number of schools that preparing the students for exams. Of course, I'm not saying that there are not good things in that schools. Of course, they are, but I believe the rankings are finished. Schools will focus on methodologies and not preparing students for achieve better in the exams
Yeah. And the third.
the third finish with the university assess exams also, because
Okay.
the problem is the same. Everyone knows that the system is not working. In one way, they say, "Oh, the exams maybe is not a good tool." Other teacher, no, this is a good tool because it's equal for everyone. But it's not equal for everyone because the curriculum from vocational training is different. The social problems of the kids are directly, and recent studies in Portugal show that, are directly connected to the achievement in the exams to go to university. Because
Right.
if I have money, I can go after school to a center to prepare me and do exercise to try to go to university.
Hmm.
So I think were the three things that.
Okay. So more autonomy. Kill the ranking between the schools.
Yeah.
And
kill the exams.
Okay.
I start by that.
Sounds good. Now, imagine you have the superpowers and you're a good dictator. So you have all the advertising space in the world, like online, offline, bus stops, ferry boat, every piece of space where you can advertise something all around the world, you own it, like you have it. And for 1 minute, you display one message that is all over the place. And it's also called the T-shirt question, because whatever you say now, we're gonna print on a T-shirt and share it as part of this episode. So, what is your message to the world?
I can not use the yes we can because someone remember that first.
Trademark. It can also be in Portuguese. I don't know.
But it's a good message. I don't know. Maybe always give your best. I think it was what I put it, what I bring. Always give your best.
That's good. Fits on a T-shirt. Sounds inspiring. Now this is not a question. It's more a moment of we call open microphone. So imagine behind that camera, or on the other side of an audio device, there is someone listening to this interview, and you speak to them directly. Usually, the people in our community are either educators who want to change, they're self-organized learners, or young parents. So if you have a message to them directly, imagine I'm not here, I'm not existing at the moment, and you just talk to them. What is your message?
To camera, okay. I don't know. I think it's important. First, we cannot forget we are educators, so we have to guide the kids through the pathway between infancy and adults. So we have to give them rules, and they have to understand that they have to be in the society with rules, and that's important. But you have also to conquer. I think the most important is to conquer the students' trust, and don't focus on the errors as a bad thing. If you think about your life, every day you commit errors from the first day until now. It's impossible not to commit errors. I think one day I read something that was telling something like, if you're not committing errors, you're not trying new things, you are making the same things. But even with the same things, you are committing errors every day. So don't focus on the error as a problem. Focus on the error as an opportunity to help the students to grow up. Maybe you need 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times to talk them about that error, but maybe he's aware of the error, but he had difficulties to correct them, so he needs more time to correct that. So I think my message will be like this: gain trust, look at errors in a good way and not as a negative thing.
Beautiful message to end this episode. Finally, where can people find more about your work, about the school? If they want to get in touch with you, where can they do it?
Okay, by email. I give
We
you
will
also
share the email.
the email. I have my work from GoLab online, but major part is in Portuguese. I don't know if Google Translator is a good tool or no for that. You can try it. But on the 100 website also, on school websites for sure. But you can find me online with my searching for my name in my school name. You easily find my contact, I think.
Okay.
If not, they can call you and
Yes, we'll display everything. So Cesar, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your story and your transformation as an educator, but as a school in general. We wish you good luck. You do beautiful work with the students.
Okay,
and
thank you.
And I hope more professional schools get out of the rigid square and do something that is more alive and more geared towards the students as active, subjects in the learning path, not just
active
numbers.
Persons in school.
Yeah. Thank you.
We thank you as me as a teacher, and I thank you your words, and I hope the best for you for your project. Amazing project, as I told you before. Why didn't I have that idea?
You can join us.